Welcome to The Complete Teacher, 101 meaningful, bite-sized professional development lessons, each coming with thought-provoking titles, relevant, inspiring quotes, helpful text with anecdotes, data, and wisdom, and action steps. Lesson 67, Best Practices for Solid Sub-Plans. All right, listen up, y'all. I'm your substitute teacher, Mr. Garvey. I taught school for 20 years in the inner city, so don't even think about messing with me. Y'all feel me? Okay, let's take roll here. That's from Key and Peele's substitute teacher skit. I hated writing subplans. I would rather come in with pneumonia than write subplans, and I did once. I've known many a teacher who feels the same. It's not that there aren't great substitute teachers out there, because there are. I just don't like that it takes me an hour to make plans. I don't like it when a day's worth of instruction is out of my hands. I also don't like cleaning up the mess, real or imagined, when I return. Trying to figure out what was accomplished, who acted up, and following through with whatever still needs to be done. It took me a few years of learning the hard way to figure it out, but there is a better way. I boiled down many of my best practices that I have come across into a simple 3-part motto: preparation, simplicity, follow through. First, preparation. Life happens, and you're going to miss work sometimes, especially if you have children of your own. For the longest time, I didn't think ahead about missing days of work or arranging plans for a substitute to work with my students. When that time came, I phoned it in by either hurriedly putting something together at the last minute or relying on colleagues to borrow a standalone lesson. Both scenarios brought unnecessary stress either to me or my colleagues, and neither was great for my students. I finally took a page from a teacher friend who had a folder of prepared, go-to lesson plans. In case of an emergency, I had to do little more than point them to the appropriate folder. Each of these lesson plans was universal in nature, so they could be used at any point in the school year. The lessons went beyond busy work too. Each one appropriately challenged, enriched, and delighted my students. Do a solid for your students, your sub, and your colleagues. Create a folder with prearranged sub-plans. Second, simplicity. At first, I spent a great deal of time writing very specific, detailed plans expecting the substitute to do just as I would have. That was not only unrealistic, but it was unfair to the professional charged with covering my class. No one teacher teaches exactly like me, and no one should. The more complicated I made my directions, the more I was taking away their freedom. I've learned to keep my plans thorough yet simple. Doing so will set up your substitute for success. Simple plans will let your sub put some of their own creativity and strengths into the lesson and get better cooperation and results from your students. Ultimately, if your students and you have established norms and expectations, they are capable of flourishing without you for a time. And third, follow through. Students quickly figure out if you mean what you say. I worked at a school where subs were eaten alive, and students typically got away with it. I also worked at a school where the standard consequence for any misbehavior with the sub was calculatingly harsh. You can guess which school had more success in terms of student behavior with their subs. Ask subs to leave a list of students who were particularly helpful or particularly challenging. Then make sure you follow up with appropriate steps, consequences, or rewards. Be the authority figure with a reputation for following through. Students will respect you more for it in the end. Find some variation of preparation, simplicity, and follow-through that works for you and your students. Doing so will make your life easier, allow your substitute to work more effectively, and allow your students to learn at a high rate even in your absence. Action steps. When it comes to sub-plans, make your work easier and allow student learning to continue in your absence by addressing your preparation, simplicity, and follow-through. Need a copy of all the Complete Teacher lessons on slides? Looking for an e-reader or physical copy of the Complete Teacher? Want to browse thousands of other top-rated, engaging resources? Check out the links below.